Welcome to Sports Goals, Creating a Compelling Future. I'm Jeffrey Hodges. This cassette is the fourth in a series of audio cassettes on mental conditioning and emotional training for improved sports performance. The information contained on this cassette and on the others in the Sportsmind series will provide you with practical skills and techniques that you can use now to significantly improve your sports performances. No matter what your sport is, the skills of the sports mind will help you get more out of your game and out of yourself. If you're serious about playing to a higher standard in your sport, then I also strongly recommend attending a Sportsmind workshop, or better still, a Sportsmind holiday training program. These workshops and holiday camps allow you to experience all the Sportsmind techniques and skills firsthand and apply them in practice to your sport. For information on Sportsmind workshops or Sportsmind holidays, or if you'd like to obtain further Sportsmind tapes, please contact me at the address provided on the label of this cassette. Finally, as with all the Sportsmind tapes, Side A of this tape provides a spoken summary of a key area of mental conditioning, while Side B comprises a practical sports improvement, relaxation and visualization exercise. Obviously, it's suggested that for safety's sake you don't listen to Side B while driving a car or doing anything else that might require your full attention. Secondly, as with all the Sportsmind tapes, I suggest that you listen to this tape a minimum of 6 times at spaced intervals. Research has shown that most people forget over half of everything they hear today within 24 hours and only remember 2% of what they heard a week later unless they re-listen or involve themselves in the listening in an active way. So please do involve yourself actively in listening to this material. I've provided stop and think pauses at regular intervals, and I encourage you to stop the tape at these places and think about how what I've just spoken about relates to you and your sport. Doing this will allow you to personalize the knowledge and practical techniques to your sports situations. So now, look forward to 60 minutes of Sportsmind instruction that will positively enhance your sports performances. Lots of people have dreams, but only a few people make their dreams come true. So how do they do it? It's by turning their dreams into specific focused goals. In 1953, a study was undertaken at Yale University in which they asked all the students who were graduating that year to write down whether or not they had a goal, and if so, whether they had a plan to achieve that goal. 20 years later, the researchers interviewed the surviving members of that class of 1953 to determine how their lives had worked out, what they were doing, and whether or not they had achieved what they had hoped to 20 years earlier. Back in 1953, only 3% of the students had a clearly defined goal and a strategy for how to achieve it. In the 1973 study, 20 years later, it was found that the accumulated net worth of those same 3% was more than the combined worth of the other entire 97%. There is a power in knowing what you want and in committing yourself to achieve it, and this is particularly true in sport. It's been found that invariably, all the top sportsmen and women are consistent goal setters and planners. So do you have goals for yourself in your sport? Have you written them down? If not, then take 15 minutes now to think specifically about what you want to commit yourself to achieving in your sport, and to write down some specific goals you want to work toward and achieve in your sport. If you do have clear goals for yourself, then write them out again. The more you write down and think about your goals, the more ideas and motivation you'll develop to help you achieve them. It never ceases to amaze me at how little time most sports people spend on thinking about what they want to achieve and where they want to go in their sport. Consider this. In 6 months, in a year, in 5 years from now, you're going to become someone, aren't you? You're going to be playing at some standard in your sport. Why leave it to chance? Why not choose and decide for yourself now what standard you want to be in 6 months, in 12 months, and 5 years from now? So here's an exercise for you to do. Write down the 3 most important sports goals you want to work toward and achieve in your sport in 6 months, and another 3 for 12 months, and another 3 for 3 to 5 years' time. A good way of getting started on this is to imagine a day in your life in 6 months' time, or in 12 months' time, or in 3 to 5 years' time. How will you be spending your day? Where will you be? Who will you be with? It's your life. What do you want it to be like? Of course, you don't have to limit yourself just to sports goals here. Write goals for your whole life if you want to, but do write them down. The best thing to do is to get a clean sheet of paper and just brainstorm goals without worrying too much right now about how you're going to achieve them. Just get in touch with your gut feelings. What do you really want to achieve for yourself in your sport? Maybe you want to play in a higher grade or win a particular competition or represent your state or country or run, cycle, swim, row faster times, whatever. Remember, in this first step, don't worry about whether it's achievable or how you're going to do it. We'll deal with those issues as we go along in this tape. The only proviso is that you only write down things that you want to achieve, not what your parents or your partner or your coach wants you to do. Write down what's in your heart, no matter how silly or unrealistic it may sound. And by the way, you don't have to tell anyone else. This is just between you and me. I promise I won't tell anyone. So stop the tape for 15 minutes now and think about and write down the 3 most important goals you want to achieve in your sport in 6 months, another 3 for 12 months, and another 3 for 3 to 5 years' time. It's important that you have these goals written down before you listen to the rest of this tape. Stop and do this now. Welcome back. In this next session, you're going to assess each of those goals that you just wrote down according to some simple principles. Because, again, lots of people set goals for themselves and they might even have written them down, but they still don't achieve them. The reason this happens is that they didn't know how to set goals properly. When you set goals for yourself, it's important that you consider 7 important SMARTER principles. If your goals adhere to these 7 SMARTER principles, then there is no question that you will achieve them. If they don't, chances are you won't get there. SMARTER, of course, is an acronym to help you remember the 7 principles. Each letter stands for a specific principle. Let's go through them one at a time, and as we do, think about the goals that you've just written. Do they adhere to each of these SMARTER principles? S is for specific. Make sure your goals are specific. What precisely do you want to achieve? Rather than writing something like, I want to get better at tennis or golf or whatever, identify precisely what level you want to attain. A lot of people fail at goal setting because they haven't been specific enough. In order to build motivation and inspiration for a goal, you want it to be clear. Some examples of specific goals might be to make the first 11 cricket side for my school, or to play A2 level in squash, or to achieve a brown belt in karate, or to compete in the Boston Marathon, and so on. M stands for measurable. Make your goals measurable so you know when you've achieved them. Rather than writing, I want to play well in the club championships this weekend, identify a specific measurable standard you want to achieve. Otherwise, how will you know when to celebrate? That's not a joke, by the way. It is important to celebrate when you achieve a goal, so make them measurable so you know when you've succeeded. Some examples of measurable goals might be to reduce my golf handicap by 3 strokes, or to achieve 70% of my first services in court, or to score at least 10 points every game, or to complete a marathon in under 2:30, and so on. A is for achievable. Make your goals achievable from where you are now. For instance, if you're currently playing B-grade tennis, it's not very advisable to set a goal to beat Pete Sampras in the final of the US Open this year, is it? You'd just be setting yourself up for a fall. Evaluate your current ability level and set a goal enough above it to challenge you and make you want to work toward it, but not something way beyond your current ability or too easy. Otherwise, you'll just get discouraged or bored. As a general rule, if you can't see yourself achieving a goal, then aim for something smaller. And when you reach that, then aim for the bigger goal. The idea is to work in a stepwise fashion, building on your successes. This gives you the confidence in yourself necessary to succeed with the big goals. R stands for responsible. Make your goals responsible to your whole self. This means consider the other things that are important in your life that you either have responsibility for, commitment to, or simply want to do. For example, relationships, work, study, relaxation time, and so on. If you don't make sure that your goals are ecologically compatible with all the other parts of yourself, then that part of you that feels denied will sabotage your efforts. This is one reason why many people don't achieve a particular goal, because there's a part of themselves that doesn't really want to put in the time and effort required. This inner sabotage can manifest itself in many different ways. Periods of lethargy or unmotivation, excessive nervousness in important competitions, lapses in concentration at crucial moments, recurrent injuries, and even relationship problems. Relationships are a common reason for inner sabotage. For instance, you might set yourself a goal to represent your country in your sport. Then, as you put in more and more time into training and are away from home more and more frequently, that part of you that needs the emotional support of a relationship feels denied, and out of the blue you suddenly get sick or injure yourself just before an important selection match and miss out on selection. Or, after playing really well all season, you have a form slump just when the selectors are watching. This type of thing happens so frequently in sport, it's no accident. It's a result of pushing yourself rather than working with yourself in achieving goals. That's why it's so important when setting goals that you really listen to yourself, to pay attention to your feelings. A simple way to do this is to simply imagine you've actually achieved the goal and then ask yourself, how will your life change? And does any part of me object to achieving this? Then just pay attention to any messages that you get, any feelings, thoughts, or images that come up in response to that question. Why not try that now? Stop the tape for a few minutes and imagine you've achieved one of the 6-month goals that you've set yourself. Think about the effort and time it will involve on your part to get there. Are you willing to put in that effort? Now ask yourself, does any part of me object to achieving this goal? And just listen and feel inside. If you do get an objection, you'll want to negotiate with that part of you before you start on the goal. For instance, you might get a part of you objecting to the increased media attention you'll get. Or a part of you might feel you can't be a nice person anymore once you turn professional. Or a part of you might object to losing the friendships of teammates in your existing team or club in order to advance your sporting career, and so on. So you need to reassure those parts of you that you will hire an agent to deal with the media, for example, or that you will make efforts to still be friendly with people, or that you will still make time for your family and friends, and so on. Objections can be about anything, and they may even appear insignificant or downright silly, but unless they're resolved, you won't feel fully aligned to the goal. This process is very worthwhile to engage in because when you have all of you in agreement working together on a goal, it's amazing how much personal power you can unlock. So stop the tape now and do this exercise for each of the goals you've written down. Imagine you've achieved the goal, then ask yourself if any part of you objects to it. And then just be with yourself and be open to the response you get. Do this now.